Hello, everybody, and welcome back. And yes, I am still alive. But hopefully, today in this short video, you'll learn something about ships again. So, recently, when World of Warships did their graphics update, again, hallelujah to the art department, they added a little something to the ships, especially when you look at them in port. And some of you might have noticed this, and some of you might not have noticed this. It is the little bit that seems to be, well, pumping water out or something. There's water coming out the ship through a couple of holes. And you might be looking at that and going like, why is my ship leaking water? Hopefully this video will be able to explain this question to you. What you're looking at is the ship's bilge system. So what the bilge system is supposed to do is remove water from inside the ship. Now you might be going, hang on a minute, what do you mean by water inside the ship? Is it like when the ship's flooding? No. Let's just say, for example, you are doing a fire exercise on your ship and you're having your crew fight, a simulated fire, and you've got to use water. So after you've done that, the water will just kind of collect in places, right? And they will typically go to the bottom of the ship because water will go downwards. Now, you can't just leave that water there, especially if it's a large amount of water, because one of the things that will happen is that it'll affect the stability of your ship. On top of that, water also goes through something called a free surface effect, where, if your ship is like rolling or whatever, it will slosh around, which will further destabilize your ship. So you've got to get the water out of there. So this is a simplified version of what a bilge system would look like. In reality, there's probably some more complexity here and there, but this is a simple way to think about it, right? So you've got these individual compartments that you see over here that I'm drawing these wonderfully not straight lines, but anyways, those are your individual compartments, right? And, water will collect, at the bottom of these compartments. So what you do is you make sure that there are pipes that can suck that water out of those compartments, and they'll be drawn towards something called a bilge manifold. This you can almost think of as like a central sort of switchboard. So there's going to be the ability to open and close some of these valves. So you're not just pulling sort of, I guess, water from every compartment, because some compartments might not have water, and then you're just wasting the suction of your pumps. So once they get here, the water will continue to travel along this system through a couple of strainers, right? And then the pumps will pump them somewhere else. And these lines will go towards, and this is only applicable, I think, really with the establishment of the maritime pollution laws, it'll go into something called an oily water separator before it can be pumped overboard. And the reason for that is you don't really want to be pumping like oil or pollutants over into the ocean, because that is not good. In fact, if you did that in real life today, you would face pretty severe fines, potentially even jail time. So in the oily water separator, it'll separate. The oil will go towards an oily bilge tank. And then, of course, the clean water can be pumped overboard. Now, before you can even pump it overboard, you first actually have to open a particular kind of valve. It's called a SDNR valve, which is basically a screw down, no return valve. So that, when you open that, you're like 100% sure that whatever you want out is going out. And then when you finally decide to close it, you also don't want anything to come back in, right? So that's a very, very useful valve. And then, of course, you go into the overboard discharge, which is what you're seeing in port, which is the water going out of the ship. But then you'll also notice that the people who did the work for that particular model did some fantastic work, because it doesn't continuously have water pumping out. It actually stops, which is really, really cool. One final little bit of sort of interesting side information is, if you actually take a look at it from even the naval architect's sort of structural perspective, right? So here we're talking about side longitudinals, and you'll notice that these side longitudinals, when they get to the end, they're actually pointed downwards. And the reason for that is, if you have water, let's say, that condenses above it, and of course, you're on a ship and there's different temperatures, so water will condense in random places. You don't want that water to just, let's say, flow down and then suddenly they're inside a trough and then they are just, going to be there forever, right? Until it just evaporates. You want the water to keep flowing down so it can get to some place where you can actually pump it out with the bilge system. So even on a structural basis, you've got to take that into consideration. Also, by the way, this is my very, very first 3D ship structure, so I'm actually kind of, proud of it. Anyways, folks, that's it for today's short video. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care, have yourselves a good one, and I'll catch you all again next time.